Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we love to feature nonprofits doing amazing things. We'll be talking to the leader of a nonprofit that is involved in 21st century community building and engagement. That's next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his ham.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I'm a big fan of the police department. These hardworking men and women, you just really can't pay them enough to do what they do every single day, and it seems like a very thankless job. I think about 9/11, and I think about the police and firefighters who are running towards the building as everybody else is running out of the towers in New York. And somewhere along the line, the narrative has changed, but a person who's making a difference right now is Toni Brinker. She is the leader of One Community USA, a wonderful nonprofit. Toni, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure. Great seeing you.
Well, it saddens me, and I know it does you as well, that even saying the word police is now polarizing. So tell us about One Community.
One Community USA started in 2014. I was in New York, saw people marching down the street in an area where I didn't anticipate that to be happening. So I heard the words, "What do you want, dead cops? When do you want them? Right now?" And I looked at my screen on TV and said, surely this is not really what I'm hearing, but that was the sign of the day. So I ended up calling our mayor and our police chief, and I made a decision then to try and do what I could to help the country. Because if we have this in New York, we're going to have it elsewhere. Do understand that in 2014, we have been through Trayvon Martin. We've been through months and months and months of the tragedy that happened in Ferguson. And we'd also had multiple issues that had aroused and come up in the country. So it's difficult what's going on in our country. So I wanted to pull both sides together, our first responders and our community stakeholders, because only when two groups come together that have opposing views can we accomplish anything.
Well, you have tremendous foresight, because when you first got involved a few years ago, it was bad, but I have to say it's gotten so much worse, and now I just hold my breath every time there's a police-involved shooting, that it doesn't go bad for the country. So we found a wonderful little clip. Let's go ahead and roll that now.
In recent months, some have lost faith and trust in those who protect us. Frustration has blurred our vision. But Americans know a thing or two about uniting for the greater good. Stand united with us to facilitate the kinds of positive dialogue that lead to unified solutions.
I'm all in.
I'm all in. I'm all in.
We're all in.
Join us.
This time, it's for all of us.
So beautiful. Toni, tell us about the mission and ministry of this wonderful nonprofit.
I will, but do you know whose voice that was?
No.
Lee Majors.
Big hero of mine, $6 million man.
He is. He's a strong community philanthropist, and he's also a person who gives back to our first responders. So what do we do?
Yes.
What do? We build communities where people have opportunities. We bring both our first responders and our community stakeholders together in programs that allow people to talk, like the two of us, to be able to voice their opinion, because people want to be heard, and they want their voices not only to be heard, but they want them to be valued. But People can sit around all day long and talk. They can do it for weeks, they can do it for months, and they can do it for years. When that happens, things fester. And if you pour onto that some of the situations that we've seen happen across the country, it's like pouring gasoline on fire.
Yes.
So action is important, and that is what we do. At One Community USA, what we are strong at is building within the community a sustainability that allows people that are in the community to feel safe. When you feel safe, the world is your oyster. If you don't feel you have any opportunities, or you always feel that you are the person that gets the short end of the stick, after a while that feeling becomes something other than a dislike. It can become maybe even borderline hate. And that brings out the worst in people. We're all about trying to tap into the goodness and couple it with our first responders, with the acknowledgement that there's good and bad on both sides.
Yes.
So if we can do that, we can step forward together. And I always say, I can't resolve what happened 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 10 years ago, but I can make a difference today, and I can make a difference tomorrow.
That's powerful. The media loves you. You were just written up in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Let's put that on the screen. Tell us a little bit more about that article, Toni.
That is an article that was written, and God bless Sheriff Wayburn. We have a prison reentry program, and what is that? So whether you know it or whether your audience knows it, there are people that are going to be coming back into society. Well, we want to give them the skills by which they can make a living, that they can make a living and have a job, obviously, to be able to feed themselves, feed their families. But more importantly, we want them to understand that they are valued in today's society. They're going to be moving into your neighborhood. You may not think that, but let me assure you that they are. So I would rather have someone coming into my community that has been given the right life skills and hope that they can succeed, because then he becomes part of the thread of the community. He may become an ambassador in the community. And I do that through Pathways to Hope, which is helping prisoners pursue excellence. Our program, though, is different than most reentry, and that is because we have our first responders who are going to be mentors to the people coming into society. Half of those will be veterans coming back, and half will be general prison population is what we do. Put those two guys together in cohorts. Maybe we may do a cohort of 30. The good thing about that is if you're a veteran, you can learn something from someone who's lived on the street, didn't have the breaks. And if you are that person, you can also learn from your veteran. So I want this to be somewhat band of brothers. It's a peer-to-peer review. Sheriff Wayburn in Tarrant County was the first person who stepped up and he said, I want this in my community. Everyone that is in my jail deserves a chance. Even those that never will come out of jail. We need to be doing something for them as well.
You have a couple of other things that I wanted to touch on. Shop Talk.
Yes,
Tell us
Shop
about
Talk.
that.
Shop Talk is a cool program. So Shop Talk, for your audience, is a program that we have that focuses on the African American owned business owners. What we want to do is support them. We want to help them have a have a business that's safe. So again, we integrate our first responders into this program, Shop Talk, who in turn then works with maybe our barbershop owners or our beauty salon owners. Why is that important? If you have a business, your business cannot grow in your community if it is not safe. So by bringing in our first responders with our barbershop owners and salon owners, you're providing jobs, you're getting them acclimated into doing really cool, positive things into the community so they become ambassadors or they become leaders in their world. With that, then they reach into their community and come back to us and say, we have families over here who don't have enough food to eat, which was in COVID. We did have families, your audience should know this. We had one family that sold the man's car to buy food, to pay to feed to his family. The barbershop owner was the one who identified them. So we got together. I said, vet them, make sure that they do need it. And then what we're going to do, we're going to give all this food away to them. We're going to do it at the police station with the police chief there, with his officers there, with my team there. So in the worst of all times, COVID, we had the police out there helping. We had an opportunity for the police chief to say, my name is Chief Spivey. Mrs. Brown, how is your daughter? I know things are different. If you need us, we're here. So you build bridges of trust in a time when people are scared. And that helps you when you have your next catastrophe, which is coming. There's always one around the corner.
All right, this next one I have trouble saying.
Una comunidad.
Thank you.
Una comunidad, for your audience, is the exact same program. Again, these are evidence-based programs. We have universities that help us because we want to track whether there's a change in attitude and also a reduction in crime. So if we walk into a neighborhood, we need to take a snapshot of what that neighborhood is all about at a certain point in time. A year later, I want to be able to say that this barbershop, salon owner, or business leader participated with our first responders. The neighborhood is now safer. I can then tell you what is my homeowner to rental ratio or my rental ratio to rental assistance ratio, which means that people have now come off of rental assistance. They can actually have a job, pay their own rent, which is what they want. We want things like occupancy, business occupancy. Has it gone up? Has it gone down? So we do 911 calls and all the basic crime data points. University comes in and does all our measurements for us. And then we go back in a year and say, not only have we created ambassadors, we've helped maybe even remodel a business for them. We have had them out in the community helping others, feeding them. Or we maybe have all linked arms. We've taken some of these kids off to a game. We've identified a student. We've given scholarships to students. So those people in the community are actually raising the boat for everyone. Una Comunidad, Shop Talk, same exact program. Both have different needs. So you get some we are able to address contemporary racial issues in a way that allows people to actually do something very positive in their community, not do damage in the community, build up the community. And you can also help people that don't understand if they don't speak English and then have a better idea of what immigration is or isn't going to do. And so, again, safety is number one. Safety leads an unstable neighborhood to a stable neighborhood, to a revitalized neighborhood, to economic development. Everybody wins.
You have a ribbon in front of you, and,
I do.
and the colors symbolize.
They do.
Yes.
They do. I'm going to hold it up for your audience. So, very important. This is a unity ribbon. The yellow in the middle stands for community stakeholders. That's me and you. And the blue on the other side are your first responders. So what is a first responder? Anyone who's taken an oath to serve or protect. The thing that we want to remember is that people that are community-based at one point in their life become a first responder. You go out and help a child that's running across the street. You've saved their life. The young person that died in Parkland, a young student, because he became a first responder, about 4 or 6 of his peers were saved. He passed away, though. Okay, so a citizen can become a first responder, and guess what? Your first responders live in your neighborhood. They're citizens. So let's look at this as a way for us to come together, become one community, USA, and if we all work together, we can turn what we see happening on the streets in a different direction. Then it becomes a place that we can look at our children and say, this is the world that we're leaving you, and we want you to do your best. You will make mistakes, but if we keep this in mind, and we also extend a hand to people who need help, then we can make this a better world.
Outstanding. We only have a couple of minutes left, so I want you to touch on the importance of people listening, because I think there's a lot of people talking, but they're not really listening to what the other side is saying.
No, they're not.
And then also, how can people get involved? So
Okay.
I'll let you go.
All right, so listening is really important. Most people just kind of ratchet their voice up as if you can't hear, and they don't really understand what it's like to walk in the other person's shoes. And we need for people to, as in our reentry, I want my veterans to understand how it feels to live in the ghetto, okay? Because that's not a pretty place to live in some cases. But I also want the guys who live in underserved communities to understand just because it's a vet doesn't mean that he had an easy life. He's in prison too. So it's this meeting of the minds that we may not look alike. You may be Black, I might be Latino, someone else might be Chinese. That doesn't mean that we're discounting anyone. We need to say we value you. Value of ideas is important. It's how you act on them. I'm not into marching in the street. I'm into helping people in the community. I want my kids to walk alongside me and say, I know somebody in the community that needs some help, come help that person. Or that young person that's being mentored by a barbershop owner who said that kid needs some help, and a policeman. Wow, that's a pretty different story to tell. So how can they get involved? www.onecommunityusa.org. Our old name used to be Operation Blue Shield. It was changed to One Community USA because I needed something for people to say, we are one, and I didn't have enough time to explain everything to them. So we are about building cities of opportunities, and that helps the next generation and the one after that. But they are solid programs. Shop Talk is endorsed by NAACP here locally, and we're presenting it to national. So these are not just get together, feel good, go fly balloons. That's not what we do. These are serious programs that touch on social issues that most people will turn and run away from. We want to talk about them head on, because I can't resolve any problems in today's society if we don't address what the real issues are.
Toni, you are such an inspiration. You have a fire in your belly for this, and I love it. I love it. We're going to put up the website so everybody can get in touch and plugged in. OneCommunityUSA.org is the website. Toni Brinker, thank you so much for being on the show.
You are most kind. Thank you.
You bet. And that's it for now. We'll see you next time.